I have a real business rock star with me today, James Green, who is a true startup magician, building up he was building several businesses from scratch to making $100 million in revenue eventually. And that is only one aspect of his merits. And James, I promise I will not use any other titles for you today. I think rockstar and magician, that might be enough. Thank you for being here.
Both are equally inaccurate, so sure, no problem.
Wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So here is how today's trainings look like. James will introduce himself first, then we will do a quick recap of what we have done so far in the bootcamp so everybody can catch up. There's quite a buzz happening in the community, and I just love that. This is why we are here. We are here to serve and to help and to connect with other people. And we will also do a mini training on filling up the student pathway that we sketched out yesterday, which will then segue into James's zone of genius, which is selling what you do. Once you got your curriculum and you got clear on on what you actually teach, you also have a systematic approach to what you do and how to package your offer. The next step is inevitably to start building a business around it, right? That's how it works. So James, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, also how you have become a founding member of the TTCO and what you do in the teaching community.
Sure. So I'm not, first of all, I'm not a traditional teacher per se. So I'm a sales and marketing focused business guy. So pretty far away from what you think of anyway, when you think about teaching and teaching communities. Most of my career, I've been hired by venture capitalists to grow companies. So they hire me when the company isn't growing fast enough. And they bring me in typically when revenues are revenues are small, and then I grow them to big. And as Susanna said, the last company I ran, which was called Magnetic, I grew from $1 million of revenue a year to $100 million of revenue a year, and we sold it to Deloitte Digital. I have run some companies that you would actually have experienced, which is fun. Sort of my favorite one to talk about over a dinner is a company called PVI, which you will never have heard of, but if any of you have watched sports, specifically American football, the technology is used in other football games. The yellow line you see on the first down line in a football game was developed by a company that I used to run. Now we sold the company to ESPN. So whenever you look at a football game on ESPN and you see that yellow first down line, I helped build that company. So you have experienced probably some of the things that I've done in my life. Then you asked Shujana about how I got involved in TTCO. I'm always looking for areas where things are going to expand. It's really, really so much easier to be involved in something where the famous phrase is a rising tide floats all boats, meaning that if you're in with the trend, you're vastly more likely to float and sail away and have a lovely, happy life. And one of the huge trends, of course, is teaching online and education, and a revolution that is happening in education. I got involved in a startup that ended up not working. Doesn't really matter, but I met Shujana there. I fell in love with what she was doing, which is helping people how first to build a curriculum online, and secondarily how to go and get students. And we decided to partner together with two other people. I think you've met both of the other people, David and Anna. And the four of us launched the teaching community to help nurture people who want to teach online. And the big sort of aha moment I had around that is that people really are social animals. We like to be together. But when you're doing an independent teaching course, you are all alone and it's lonely. And that's not as much fun. And so we're trying to build a community where, although you are going to go and get your own students and teach them and do your own thing, you can be part of a community that can help you, that can help take some of the burden off you, that can make sure you have all the tools you need. And when you have problems, you can come talk to your peers and we can help solve those problems. And I'm here today to talk about the business problems you might have, whether they are how you should price something, how you should sell something, how you should market yourself, how you can do the things that teachers are not typically taught how to do. And but I was taught how to do, so I want to share. That's it.
Fantastic, James. I love this introduction. And remember what I told you about teachers. Some of them are into sports, some of them are not. But I'm sure that everybody from the 48 countries that these people are from, everybody knows two names, Walt Disney and Apple. And James worked with both companies, right? You had a pretty,
I'm going to correct you a little bit there. So I totally worked for the Walt Disney Company. And I absolutely knew and worked for Steve Jobs, but not at Apple.
Not at Apple, thank you.
Not at Apple, no, at Pixar Animation Studios.
And what did you do there?
I ran marketing, business development. It's sort of running marketing for Steve Jobs. It's, I don't know who your favorite teacher hero is, but working for the most successful marketing person in the world as a marketing person, that's an experience. So
I'm sure, and I know everybody knows that name as well, and most of us must know Pixar as well. So I wanted to make it as relatable as possible for those people who are maybe not so familiar with American football, although I know those who love it, they will know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about the ESPN experience as well. So such an honor to have you here. And
thank you.
A lot of teachers are interested in selling. We already talked about the whole imposter experience teachers have around running a business, but I do not want to get ahead of ourselves. I know that's coming later. What I promised everybody is a quick highlight of the boot camp, which started with day 0 when they got the homework. All these wonderful educators got the homework to collect 5 reasons why students should learn from them and work with them. And I already told this gang that the teaching community as a team is actually taking the book out with students course together to create a case study, but it's no secret also that we have a lot of fun doing that. It's not only for work purposes, it's for fun as well. And your Zone of Genius session was a blast, wasn't it, James?
Yes,
we
it
had
was.
As a team.
Yeah,
yes.
One of the, just because in sort of in the spirit of being what you all have to be, we're doing everything for everyone. So I edited all of those videos. So yes, I loved it.
Yes, and we are going to watch a little bit of one of those in a minute. Yes. After the day 0, when a lot of people handed in their homework, it was super impressive. We dove into curriculum creation with David Hughes, and our educators created their very first curriculum cake. And yesterday, we were talking student attraction details with lovely Anna. And we sketched out a student pathway as a first step, focusing on the starting point and the finish line. What we will do today is fill in the pathway a little bit, not with every detail, delivering on my promise, and then we can dive into how to sell all that, okay? That's the plan here. And the way how we will actually do the pathway fill up is giving a tiny little sneak peek into our co-production. As James said, this video that you're about to see is part of our paid course, and while I was the content creator, James did all the edits and added a lot of fun stuff in there. So, ladies and gentlemen, the successful student pathway explained in a video. Let me share my screen with you. And share computer sound needs to be on. I have to pay attention to that. Very good.
It doesn't matter what you teach. The starting point is where your students are right now, and the finish line is where they want to be. If you follow the steps in Pillar 1 in this course, you already know a whole lot about where your students are, their struggles, their pain points, their challenges. You also know a whole lot about their desires and their goals, the solutions they crave, right? And the gap between those two things is where you build your student pathway and your entire teaching service. We sign up for any kind of learning experience because we want to close this gap. And you, the teacher, instructor, coach, or mentor, you help your students to close the gap. Next, we will identify the stages. Every learning process has stages or phases. You don't go from barely understanding a few words in a foreign language to speaking it fluently with a snap of your fingers, right? Nobody goes from not knowing how to ride a bike to winning the next Tour de France. There are stages that can be added to each and every learning curve. I recommend you not to have too many of those. Above 7 or 8, it becomes confusing and complicated to follow. I originally created 12 stages for the coaching program this course is based on, and after 6 or 7, everyone lost track and got confused. Stick with 5 or even 3 main stages. If I want to learn how to bake a cake, first I need to learn about the ingredients and make those available, along with the equipment I need to use. Actually, there is a phase 0 when I have to get the cookbook, right, or the recipe off the internet. After I learn about the ingredients and I get them all, next I will combine the ingredients in a specific order to create the dough. Then comes the next phase, which is the baking process itself. And there might be a phase 4 when I put the icing on top and decorate the cake. The finish line is when I serve it proudly and we eat the whole cake. These phases need to happen one after the other in a particular order in order to produce the desired end results, right? And this is true for any learning process there is. So think about your own teaching process in these terms. First, let's identify the starting point. How do we do that? I want you to recall everything you know about the people you work with or wish to work with as students. What are they feeling, doing, and thinking when they start out? What search words do they use in Google? What questions do they ask? Write down as much as you can based on your market research in Pillar 1 and on your own intuitive understanding. You have been in their shoes once, being a beginner at your own craft as well. And then, once you did that, you can decide on the phases, which we can signify as stepping stones between those 2 points to fill the gap. When you have those phases in place, you want to identify milestones or kilometer stones for each phase, which will help you to create your system to measure if they are ready to get to the next phase and then the next and the next. Make sense? Now, the measurement system is an organic part of the progression, and it does not have to be anything rigid and official and test-based. The purpose of having a measurement tool is to simply diagnose where they are on their progression so they know exactly what to focus on, what step they need to take next. It is also there to ensure that they see their own progress, and once they reach the goal in that stage or phase, it is time to celebrate. I remember how excited my little brother was, a little kid of 8, when he graduated from being a white belt beginner in karate to being a yellow belt student. They had a ceremony in which they handed out the belts, and we were all there cheering for him when he started wearing it. He even slept with his new belt under his pillow for a while. In martial arts, the colors of the belt symbolize the phases or levels and the achievement, and the color coding provides a clear system of measurement. When you create your student pathway, you need those elements in there in order to create the tangible progress your students will love. Again, here are the elements: starting point and finish line. And then the phases, hopefully 3 to 5. And then characteristics of your students in each phase, and we start with the starting point, learning everything about them there, and the finish line, and then we fill it in gradually. And finally, organic measurement tools to measure their progress. Think about the belts in karate. Your student pathway will be the driving force behind your marketing strategy, and it can help you to create a winning content strategy as well.
How do you like that? I'm so proud of this, James. I think this is one of my favorite flicks that we made together. It's really
Excellent.
good. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Wonderful. Of course, this was not the whole student pathway lesson, just a teaser for you all to see what we actually do in the courses. The successful student pathway will be the backbone of your offer, and you just got a little taster of how to use the pathway to package your offer. So we will do not pack it too full, and we don't treat it as an overstuffed suitcase, and it's something that people actually can sell or buy from you, and you can sell it in a very nice little well-packaged offer. So now the next question is how to go about that. And James, I think, as I said, this is one of my favorite videos, and one of the reasons because it connects what the teachers do as teachers and how they can take the next step in terms of becoming a business owner. And now I'm going to give you the floor and allow you to shine in your own zone of genius. I think a good starter point would be to talk about the sales as an organic part of the process, although building a business includes a lot more elements, I know that, but just the word sales gives anxiety. It can give anxiety to a lot of educators.
So yeah, I'm so tempted to start with some of the questions that were asked, but I will be more generic than that. You'd let me know because there's some fantastic questions, and I sort of want to dive into them right away.
We will.
Okay, but you're right. One of the mistakes that people make in sales is that if you think of a student who shows up to your class, to them, what you do seems sort of magical. They just sit down, they take your course, and they're like, oh, wow, the course just appeared. But in reality, you did all these things. You studied for it, you thought about how to lay it out, you built the curriculum for them, you did all of these things. And the same is true in sales and marketing. But the mistake that people make is they think, oh, all I have to do is I have to get this great course, and then I just have to tell people that I have this great course, and then they'll show up. But actually, you have to go through almost exactly the same steps in sales and marketing as you do when you actually build out your course. And what I mean by that is that you have to make sure that you find out that that people want to learn what you're actually teaching. And so you actually have to get that feedback. You have to find out why they like what you're teaching. So you may love to. I'll make it up, but I was talking to a chess player earlier. So you may love to teach chess for all sorts of reasons. You may just love playing it. Someone may love learning it for a completely different reason. And so when you're communicating that message to them, you have to find out why people want to learn from you, and not why you want to teach them. These are two totally different things. And doing all of that is an entire process. We teach it at Booked Out with Students, and as I said, I'm sort of super eager to get into some of the very specific questions, because theory is theory, but practice shows you what you have to do. So
important, and thank you so much. My only personal question was, or something that I wanted to ask you, kind of summarizing what most people ask me, which are not listed here, is what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out? What are the do not pass go steps that are absolutely necessary elements? And I think that's what you just did. You gave us that answer. Thank you so much. And James is really eager to get into the questions, and I understand why, because they are super good questions. And I'm going to read the questions so I can help you with that, and then you will give us your invaluable answer here. And of course, I need
Great.
my glasses, as usually. I do.
Not me.
Okay,
I don't need glasses. Not at all. No.
no, no, no.
No. It's just
It's
for
just
looks.
so
Yeah.
funny how when I forget to put them on, I realize that I come very, very close to the camera, and that can be scary. So yeah, that's the reason behind it. So the first question is from Charlie. Charlie is one of our most enthusiastic bootcamp members, and this is what he asked: like, how do you make yourself stand out in the crowd to gain students and make students want to study with you? That's
Yeah.
the first question, James.
So this sort of builds from what I was just talking about, which is that, first of all, and I got a few statistics that either will make you cry or make you happy. I don't know which, or maybe both. If you just put an ad out for yourself out there, no one will come to you. It's very, very unusual. If you do, then you've done something extraordinary, exceptional, and you've been lucky as well. And when I'm selling something, when I'm calling people up and asking them to buy something, my usual success ratio is between 1% and 5%. So I might call 100 people before I get one person to say yes. So these are normal parts of life. So expecting to be able to just stand out, you won't. Like, I mean, that's the first thing that you just have to accept, is that you won't. And so how do you get students? If you can't stand out, how do you get students? And one of the things that is probably the hardest thing for all of us to do, and I'm sitting here with you and you're going to be like, oh yeah, it's easy for you, this is what you do for a living, but I can tell you that what I'm about to suggest, I find personally incredibly hard. And so you will find it hard. We all find it hard. If you are at all sensible or emotional or empathetic, then you will find this stage hard, which is getting your first student. And the way you have to do it is by calling people you know and asking. You have to do it. There is no other way. It is that you're not going to be able to. What we want to do is put a wall between ourselves and the getting of the students, and you cannot. You need that tangible connection between you and the person, and you're going to have to actually call some people up and say, if you're teaching English as a second language, you're going to have to call up places where these people might be. They might be parents, they might be friends of friends. They're going to say, I'm here, I want to teach. Here's what you're probably going to have to give a special deal at the beginning. You're going to have to get that one student, and there is no replacement for that personal outreach at the beginning. What you're going to do from then, because I want to answer this question of how do you make yourself stand out, you're going to have that teaching experience, and you are going to learn from the student as much as the student is going to learn from you. You're going to learn why they liked you. They're going to learn, and at the end of it, you're going to have to make sure they have a great experience, because the way you're going to get your next two students is from that student. That person is going to know other people like them. It is always true. Chess players know other chess players. People who don't speak English know other people who don't speak English. It is true of all things. I'm a squash player. I know other squash players if you want to teach me squash. It is true in all areas. You're going to get your next students from those people. And you're not going to be ready to do what I think this person is asking, which is to stand out in a crowd of anonymous people. You're not going to be able to do that until you have your set of testimonials and great students who have had a great experience for you and who will endorse you willingly, and more than doing it because they ask, they're going to want to. And if you can't get someone to do that, you have to keep working until you do. And the example I'm going to give is outside teaching, which is with products. So if you buy something that you love, and it could be a phone, it could be a television, it could be a course. If you buy something you love, you can't help but tell people about it. You just can't. It's just human nature. If I have a good experience, I'm going to tell my friends I had a good experience. By the way, if I had a bad experience, I'm going to tell my friends I had a bad experience too, especially today. And so the way that you need to stand out is by providing that initial good experience and then building from that small place into a bigger and bigger and bigger thing until it's so big that you can start to advertise it and it resonates with all these people who've already done it. But you can't start from nothing.
That's wonderful, James. And what I wanted to tell you was something that it didn't scare me or cheer me up when you told me the statistics about like what's the success rate. It gave me relief. It gave me relief,
it
like,
should
oh,
give you
that's
relief.
normal.
Yeah, that's right.
To
that is
actually
so normal.
succeed once in in 100 calls.
Once in 100 times. Yes.
Yeah, that's
And
fantastic. If someone who is so successful experiences the same thing, it should be okay for me too. I shouldn't want to be better than you.
Yeah. And by the way,
selling.
if you're calling the wrong people, it'll be worse. So for example,
Yes.
if I'm teaching English as a second language and I'm calling squash players, it'll be less than 100, like it'll be. So.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. And I absolutely love the different examples that you bring, which also come from our people, right? The teachers who are in the teaching community already, and your personal experience, which makes it really relatable to teachers who teach all sorts of different crafts and know-hows and art forms here. So thank you so much for making it so tangible and relatable. And we have another question. Are you ready?
Such a great first question, by the way.
Right? So perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The next question comes from Julie, and it's more like a statement, I would say, but a very good one. I'm a teacher, not a salesperson. So marketing and getting leads on students is giving me anxiety.
Yeah. So let's talk about why that gives you anxiety. And again, I want to tell you, it gives me anxiety. So picking up the phone or sending an email, it doesn't matter whether it's to someone I know or someone I don't know, and asking them for something gives me anxiety. And again, if you are a decent human being, it will give you. The only people who it doesn't give anxiety to are people who don't care about other people. If you don't care about other people, you just go do it. But if you actually care about the person on the other end, then this is going to give you anxiety. And so first of all, that's normal. So you just kind of have to get used to it. There are some tools that you can use, though, to help you get over that anxiety. The first is when you're calling people, always be very, very, very open and honest. And this doesn't really matter whether it's email or talking to them, but in the end, you do, especially at the beginning, you want to talk to people. So your email outreach should be about getting people to talk to you. And then when they talk to you, if someone, and a lot of them will say no, the golden rule about this is you should never push back on a no. So think about it. If I'm trying to sell Zsuzsanna and Zsuzsanna says, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Probably the last thing Zsuzsanna ever wants to experience is for me to say, yes, you're wrong. You do want to buy this. Like that is, we've all experienced salespeople doing that. And it is what we as people think that we should do. And I'm here to tell you, don't ever do that. If someone says they don't want it, you need to embrace that. And what I do when I'm selling is I live by comedy improv rules. This is true, by the way. So I don't know if any of you have ever done comedy improv. If you haven't, you should try it. It is the best sales training you could ever do. So if you're going to do comedy improv, there's one golden rule. It is called yes and. And my favorite example of this is, and well, the reason they're doing that, again, if Zsuzsanna and I are on stage, we're improv, and we're doing something, I can't say no. I'm going to give you an example. So if Zsuzsanna says, oh, we're here, we're in an airplane, and the airplane is about to crash, and I'm sitting next to her saying, oh, that's really depressing. I don't want to have the airplane crash. I can't say on stage, no, the airplane's not crashing, because it ruins the story. You can't have that argument with someone, and you can't in sales either. And if you want to feel comfortable, you don't want to say no to someone. But you can steer them in the right direction. So what am I going to do? I'm standing there on stage. The airplane's crashing. I've got to say yes. So I say, yes, the airplane is crashing. And we're all dreaming this terrible dream about an airplane crashing. And we wake up and then we're fine. And we're on a beach and it's sunny outside. So you can still say yes, and you can still take it to a completely different place. And so what you need to do when you're talking to people is you need to say yes, and you need to find out why they're saying no, and what, because if they're saying, if you're teaching English and they're saying, no, I don't want to take your course because I speak fluent English, well, then the answer is, that's pretty great. I'm not going to teach you English. Or if the answer is, I don't like English people or Americans, I don't want to learn English, and that's also a pretty great reason. But there may be other reasons which are not as hard. And so you try to find out why is a great way to be empathetic and to have a conversation, so that you may find out, like, I don't have enough money for it right now, or it's something I've always wanted to do, but I'm not sure that it's worth it. I'm not sure if I'll get good at it, or I'm not sure if I'm good at languages. And then you can have just a conversation about their experience, and that can relieve anxiety. So when you stop trying to sell who you are and start trying to have a conversation and support the person you're talking to, it can help relieve anxiety. That and the statistics around how many people you need to be in touch with.
That's beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. And to me, it created a huge shift in my behavior when I started to actually think about how organically we sell things every single day. If I want my husband to read a book because I know it's good for him, it's going to be good for him, I'm going to do all sorts of things to make sure that he understands the value of the book. And I cannot shut up about it because it has an impact on me that I have to talk about. Or I want to talk my friend into coming to watch a movie with me. I'm going to sell the movie to her, right? And we're not thinking about selling in such an organic way, which takes place in very normal conversations every day. You want your kids to eat vegetables, right? That's a very classic example. You have to do a whole line of techniques there, which are not necessarily conscious. It's just that you negotiate and you offer something else and you try to figure out which one would they want, and so on and so on. So there are so many ways to approach this. And if you are crazy about something in a good way, it becomes a lot easier. So if you get to a point in your process to sell what you love, I cannot not talk about the teaching community. I have to. It's like it's something that comes out of me naturally anywhere, and it's not selling anymore because I just know that it's going to be good for people if they actually take interest in it, and I believe it with my whole heart. So that's a very personal experience here, and we're going to move on to the next question with that. Okay, James?
It's a good segue. Do you want me to reach it? You got it? You got the question?
I got, which is practically yes. Yes, Anna was commenting under Julie's comment. I know I can teach, but can I sell? I think you pretty much explained this already, or illustrated.
But I have a little extra to add.
You want to add some extra?
I want to add just a little bit of thing. So you also, in what you just said, we've already said you are selling in everyday life, but just as in everyday life, we can always improve our relationships with others. People take courses on that. So you can take courses on selling. So I'm going to teach you now one of my favorite sales techniques that will help you be better at selling. I've actually taught you one already, which is the yes and there are many others. But my favorite one is to always remember to criticize your own product in some way. And you're going to be like, what? I'm like, yes. So in your example, Zsuzsanna, you said you want to persuade someone to go see a movie. So if you want to persuade someone to go see a movie, you can, if you want, say all the good things about it. But we all know as people that if you're only saying good things, it's bullshit, because nothing is perfect. It just isn't, So if I can describe anything, the iPhone is fantastic, but there are things I don't like about it. I don't, there just are. And so there are, you should always think about adding a negative along with all of the positives, because it makes you seem like you're telling the truth, and it should be that you're telling the truth. So for example, and this is the easiest of the easy, taking this course with me will be really great. the only thing I'm really bad at is selling it to you. I'm really bad at it. Like I just don't know how to sell, and I'm no good at it. And that's really authentic, and it just relieves all of the pressure in the room. So there are being truthful and authentic, and when you're being truthful or authentic, there is always something you can be self-critical about, or you can show room for improvement, or say, if you want that. So for example, if it's a action movie, you can say, oh, it's the most exciting, greatest action movie you ever made. But if you're looking for a romantic comedy, this isn't it. It isn't, and you've just been honest. And it makes people believe you much more, because you are being honest and you're being normal. And you're not going to persuade someone to see an action film if they want to see a romantic comedy. It's just not going to happen. And the same is true of your course. If they don't want to take your course because they want to take something else, better find that out early. Move on to someone who does want to take your course.
Absolutely. It's saving time and energy, and you don't feel like a failure so badly. Having a good conversation with someone who doesn't want what you offer is awesome, by the way. It's really awesome. You're absolutely right. And also another good idea, with time you can collect like other people who are doing something slightly different and referring them, like, okay, I can't help you with what you need. It's obvious because by the way, often you find that it's not a good match. That's equally possible. This is so important. Great. And it's so cool when I see like, oh, that my course is actually not for you. Now I see that we are talking, but there is this person who focuses only on sales funnels. That's what I think you could explore. And then I still help, and I prove to be useful and authentic. And then they are still going to recommend me because they have this good experience. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, James. This is perfect. And I think it helps everyone enormously. And the one negative thing, or just observe things from a different angle, that's a really, really good piece of advice. We have, next is Maura. Yes, she's also present in the bootcamp, Every Fashion Possible. She says that her issue is, or her problem or her hang up is defining the price. That's the first part. Do you want me to read the rest?
Yeah, well, I mean, I see it. Defining the price, the variables around getting paid, best online payment providers, dividing the full payment into automatic monthly installments, invoices, receipts, paying teachers working for you, taxes. Yeah, that is definitely a course. Like there's no way I can answer all of those, but I will do my best. So the first thing is about price. So for me, the easiest way to think about price is to remember that there's different price points for everything. So I'm going to use I'm a skier. I like to ski, so I'm going to use skiing as an example. So you could get your friend to teach you to ski, and it's kind of free, and you get that experience. You could take a skiing lesson, a group lesson. It's a bit more expensive. You could take a private one. It's more expensive. You could take an Uber private one with a super guide. And so there's different price points for everything. So whatever you want to teach, you should know that someone's prepared to spend $100,000 learning it. Like, for sure. You think they're not prepared to spend $100,000 learning how to ski, you're just wrong. There's some rich person out there who's totally prepared to spend that for their special experience. And so the price really is whatever you can make it. So one of the ways that I like to figure out what the price, that price market fit is for you, is how much money do you want to make? So if you take how much money you want to make and how many hours you're going to teach online, and then you can go look at what other people are teaching. If you end up going too low, you're simply not going to make as much money as you need to make. And then you have to adjust your course so that your course is compelling to the person at the right price. So, if you want to make, I don't know, $4,000 a month, and you're prepared to teach a certain number of hours a week, you can do the math about what that course is worth in order for you to make that much money. And then you can think about, do I want to teach groups? Do I want to teach individuals? And then what subject am I teaching? So pretty obviously, I'm going to use two silly examples. If I want to teach well, if I want to teach something very simple, I can charge less than if I want to teach something more complicated, broadly speaking. But even that isn't necessarily true, because there are uber wealthy parents of kindergartners who will pay anything to get their kids have a super great
That's true.
early learning experience. So that
Yeah.
even that's not really true. But that's, I think, a good way to think about price. You know, be modest about your expectations. Think about how many hours you're going to teach. Are you going to teach in a group, or are you going to teach individually? Keep all your numbers low. So I'm only going to get this many students. I'm going to have to teach in groups. I'm not going to make that much money. And then do the math and figure out what you need to pay. And then is your course a good offering in the market? Go Google what other people are doing in that market and see if it fits. I think you'll find it probably does. Then, you know, as for getting the best online payment providers and the taxes and these sorts of things, my best advice is to Google it. So the one thing that I've heard asked several times is, should I use a payment provider, or, you know, because I want to keep most of the money myself and I don't want to pay these percentages out. And you want to make the payment experience as simple as possible. You don't want multiple steps, and it is absolutely worth spending a couple of percentage points to go and use an automated payment provider. It is not worth trying to get someone to mail cash to you in, you know, or do something that is going to be more complicated. There will be a percentage of people that will drop out as a result of your payment, and it's going to be higher than the percentage that you would pay for the payment provider. So as you think about those things, you want to do what is absolutely the simplest possible thing. Also, you want to get paid in advance. You're welcome to give away a free lesson, but you want to be paid in advance. You do not want people saying, I'm gonna take the lesson, pay you afterwards. Just fire those people. Just don't do it. Don't think about it. You do not want to be chasing receivables. You know, you need to be paid in advance all the time. If the person wants to take a trial lesson, up to you whether you're going to offer that, but do not offer a payment where they pay you at the end of the lesson. It's a terrible, terrible mistake. You don't want to be in that position. If they want a refund, then you can say, well, if you really had a bad experience, of course, I'm going to give you the money back. But you don't want to be in the experience of, wait a minute, you had a lesson from me and now you're not paying me. You just don't even want to have that in your life. So that you need to pay in advance. You need to pay with a payment processor. And as for taxes, follow the law. What can I tell you? It's different in every country. But you should follow your local laws. Don't break them. It's not worth it.
That's wonderful, James. I'm just looking at if we have any new comments or questions coming in. That's the only reason why I look down sometimes, because otherwise, anytime you talk, I'm always glued to the screen, because it's so good to have these very simple and systematic explanations, which lays out all the issues and all the things that we have hesitations around. And we do talk about the imposter syndrome from time to time. Yeah. And we even have a joke with James that we should run a podcast around imposter syndrome.
Oh, we should.
I already named it Imposters in Action. Because James thinks he cannot really teach, which I think honestly is just an imposter experience, because what did he just do? I mean, seriously. And then I have an issue around doing business, because I never learned that officially. So that's absolutely a well-rounded support for anybody who experiences anxiety around any of that stuff. And what I wanted to say here, that I'm super grateful for you to make that anxiety go away for a lot of us by just giving us clarity. I think that's the very first step to take here. Like, get clear on what you need and get informed about it. That's true for taxes or bookkeeping or anything else. That's the easiest to get.
You know, there is one thing in this thing that I meant to say. I just can't help it. I want to be complete. The only thing that I didn't address out of all of those things was payments.
Yes.
If you want to have a payment plan, and that I sort of did, but I want to be explicit about it. You need to use a payment provider, and it needs to be paid in advance. So all of those payment providers will set you up so that they are doing the automatic charges and doing a payment plan.
Yes.
You should never allow a payment plan where someone is sending you a check. Don't do it. if they're signing up to it, then they need to give you your credit card. You need to go work with a payment provider so that the payment provider is debiting that credit card every single month. And if they can't do that, then they're lying to you about their ability to pay you. Don't do it. So it needs to be automated. Everything needs to be paid in advance. Those are the golden rules about this. But you can still have payment plans. People can pay over time, but they have to commit. This is a commitment. This isn't a I might like to pay you later deal. This is I'm going to pay you the full amount. I'm going to pay you in a payment plan, and then you're going to use these two large institutions, credit facilities and automated payment providers, who are going to do all of that work for you, so that you're not talking to your student about, why didn't you pay me this week?
Mm-hmm. Such a good
Sorry.
piece of advice. It's wonderful, because systematizing everything is part of becoming a business owner.
Yes.
As much as you can. It doesn't allow mistakes. It saves you so many types of headaches. Seriously, this is so true. Absolutely true, James.
Simplify your life. Yes.
Exactly. And I wish we could go on. I want to continue, but you know that I have another training coming up in the other group.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
so we have
on
to go.
assessment, which is for our VIP people, the paid group. And I would like to give out the homework for today, so people can win a free lesson with us, obviously, today as well. And the homework is, again, very simple. It's always super simple. I would like you to define your 3 to 5 main stages on your student pathway, just the way how it was shown in the video. Again, you can win access to a full free lesson. And I want you to post it in the comments under this video as before, or in a separate post in a group. It doesn't matter at all. James, such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for giving us all this knowledge. It's such a huge bank that we can, take these credits out. Thank you so much for giving it to us and your time. It was absolutely wonderful. And I think this will be a really popular video in the group. So everybody who watches the replay can still ask questions, additional questions. James is in the group, I am in the group, and we can get back to you anytime later as well.
Yep, just at me in the questions and I will get right back to you.
Thank you so much again. Thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.